Come on. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first game of the day for the Kaspersky King of the Hill Arena. This is, of course, the August edition. This is Rifkin, casting with the lovely Zombie Grub, and getting right into the match, spawning here in the lower right corner of the map. He's orange, and he's from ESCeu Icy Box. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for ShoWtime.
And in the upper left, he's coming out for Acer. He's the red Zerg. It is Nerchio. And he was the voted guy. He was voted in to actually play in this tournament, so hopefully he can show some really, show his fans, since they obviously voted a lot for him. I think he got like 60% or something like that. Some really good games.
Nerchio has this massive following in Poland. Like, I thought Australia was tight when it came to supporting their players. Poland is crazy. They love each other like mad over there. But, yeah, Nerchio's... He's kind of this interesting guy. I think for most of the Wings of Liberty, people regarded him as one of the best Zergs in Europe. And I still kind of do hold him in that high regard, but his results have been lacking in comparison. I mean, he won DreamHack Bucharest. That was like this big, like, height of his career type moment, and then we haven't seen a lot come out of him since.
I mean, he does go to school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely a full-time student. It is summer, I believe, still for them, but... I actually have no idea how European colleges work. I learned it once in like French, like French year 3, and then I forgot about it. But, anyways, I'm sure that he's practicing hard behind the scenes. I think Scarlet's like him and are really, really good friends, and they're always talking and strategizing with each other. But as PvZ notoriously, or rather not notoriously, what is it like? Tell me about him.
Nerchio is this really, like, everything about him in every matchup. What I really like is he is, regardless of his results, one of the most well, I'm going to start like stuttering here, most methodical players I've ever watched, because when he needs to be aggressive on the, like, stops on a dime, turns around, stops being defensive, goes aggressive, and vice versa. Like, when he needs to be on the defensive, he's that guy that used to put down 12 spine callers to deal with the Century Immortal all-in. He's that guy who's ready to scout your I don't know, 8 gates coming down way before you're ready to even make units. Like, he will be on the ball this game, I guarantee it. Whether he can mechanically follow it up, we'll have to see. Protoss have had a lot of really good showing recently in Europe, as presented by ESCeu. So I'm a little curious how his PvZ exactly is right now.
ShoWtime is, of course, a Korean. He's on EU ESC right now, as his clan tag. But, and do you know if he plays on the Korean, or rather, yeah, plays on the Korean server as much as he does the European server, or are you gonna figure he's gonna have more Korean style for Protoss or European style for Protoss? And is Nerchio gonna be prepared for either one?
You know, I couldn't tell you where ShoWtime spends his spare time practicing, but one thing is for sure, and that's a lot of StarCraft 2 seems to follow the Korean meta. Like, there are certain aspects that definitely get overused in North America, or get started in North America, but it does feel like most players, like 9 times out of 10, they follow the route of the Koreans, because the Koreans do it best. So I wouldn't be surprised if ShoWtime had this more Korean-style PvZ.
Yeah. I mean, agreed. I think the European Protosses still are, they're a little different. I feel like Europeans are more open to, like, strategizing with each other, so they have these builds that are, like, European, but they're still pretty good. They're not, like, it's not, like, terrible compared to the Koreans. But usually when Koreans go to a European team or an American team or something like that, they still mimic the Koreans back at home, like, no matter what they're practicing on.
Hey, and some small clarification here too for anyone who's like the more casual StarCraft viewer. Oh wow, that probe actually gets out alive. I had my finger over the first blood button. I was like, that's gonna die. But for those who are more new to the scene and don't know what we're talking about, Korean versus European builds. This doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, Forge First is Korean and Gateway First is European by any means, but a lot of it comes down to the execution and unit composition. So when we're going through these games, for you guys to follow up with what we're talking about, we're not just trying to use jargon to confuse you. I'll try and string you along the way.
That's very nice of you. Always forgetting about this new guys. Such an elitist. But
You're the reason StarCraft 2 is dying, Zombie Grub.
No. Killing esports.
Early Stargate coming out here. Nothing too surprising. Phoenixes have been so darn popular, especially within like the last month specifically and especially. I would not be surprised to see Phoenix come out first out of this.
No, definitely not. Mothership Core is out right now. Of course, 3 bases are already up. He's looking like he's not going to go for that Stalker, Zealot, Mothership Core push. He's getting a Sentry right now, in fact. So he's actually going to have very limited scouting on the side of Nerchio. Now, he's confirmed that it's 3 base. He hasn't come back to confirm, is Nerchio even droning it? Did he take how many gases? Or anything like that. So he's relatively in the dark. His Mothership Core is, coming out here. He's going to try and clear the Zelnagas or whatever he can do. But it's just going to be, waiting for those Phoenixes, hopefully, to see anything that's going to come his way. And luckily, Nerchio isn't going to, like, do some type of slowing all in or even fasting all in. He's just playing standard right now.
I like to, like, he doesn't have too many overlords dedicated across the field. He's got three that are going to be picked off by these Phoenixes, and that's really it. Not even three, sorry, two. That's a Zergling, my bad. So, because this is such a frustrating thing. When you're a Zerg player and you go for that overspread of overlords, and you go for that really early map control, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's no way I'm getting these home in time. I'm going to lose like 7 overlords. It can really suck. And this is what I'm talking about with Nerchio being methodical. He doesn't know whether Phoenixes will come out first or not. But to be safe and make sure he doesn't make any early game mistakes like sending out 7 overlords, he's actually going to be okay.
Yep. And he didn't really care that much about scouting the main anyway, so that is the first indication of that Stargate play. He's getting prepared, just a few Spore Crawlers, getting a lot of Lings right now. He's going up to like 25. It looks like he's going to try and, do some damage at the natural, potentially see if there's a third and definitely cancel that. There is none on the way, as you can see, but this natural, oh, what caster is that?
I don't know, but it's not us, so boo! Well, the point you're making is kind of interesting, too. By having this massive flood of Lings, Phoenixes, if you go Hydralisk, they'll pick them up. You go Roaches, they'll pick them up. And you won't have that many on the field, so they're easy to pick up and get disposed of. If you've got, like, 50 Lings, yeah, they're not going to be nearly as strong as, say, 50 Roaches, but you can get them out quicker, and the Phoenixes cannot deal with them, period.
Exactly. Like, they're going to be picking up 1 Ling at a time. How effective is that? Not a lot. The Phoenixes actually run out of energy before all the Lings are dead. Luckily, though, he's going to have Warp Gate, He has, I think, only like one Gate finished, but the rest will be finished very, very shortly. So we can definitely warp in more and more sentries to have those force fields. But it will use all his force field energy, right? So any follow-up attack from Nerchio can get that really good surround on all those sentries and zealots and take out his gas-heavy army.
This is what I'm talking about when I compliment him and call him a smart guy. But looks like we're going to lose one of the casters. Sad to see. Goodbye, Matty. Hopefully you can cast from somebody's stream. Full permission to use ours if necessary if you're the streamer.
Yeah. What are we waiting on to drop? I always forgot the rules of dropping. I thought like the player, that the opponent chose to drop them, but there he goes anyways.
It's often the admins, I think, for most tournaments.
Okay.
Because like the players could drop, and that's like, well, hey, why'd you do it? That was our official streamer or something, right?
Yeah, that's true. But we do have this attack coming. The Mothership Core does scout a few Lings. Might be a little alarming for ShoWtime, but he's just waiting patiently for those Warp Gates to finish, changing him into Warp Gates right now. And the Lings aren't going to do too much yet.
Well, what's kind of cool is I like that Nerchio, he got Burrow really early. So you can do your typical, yeah, look, these Lings are going to come in here and Burrow and deny the the third base for quite some time, but what this also does is when you know Phoenixes are on the field, you can't have errant overlords. They will get picked off. You can start burrowing Lings on the ramps, the pathways that would normally be attacked, and uh-oh. Did Nerchio see that all the sentries were so far out of position, I wonder? I guess not. He's coming back home.
Well, no, the Lings were taken out by that Mothership Core, and the third does go down. It's protected by just a small handful of units. And
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if he saw those sentries initially, because it's only just now coming in here. Baits out some force fields, goes for the Nexus.
I think he will be getting this Nexus. The baiting out force fields are actually pretty key right there. They weren't actually surrounding the Nexus like they would have wanted, so
and he sneaks
not the biggest deal, though.
He sneaks in a couple burrowed Lings, and the chaos that was amidst, and the probe cannot put down something new yet. Pylon is down, though, so you can build a cannon if necessary.
The Observer is out, but it's going the wrong way.
Yeah, it's coming back home now. But I'm going to put out Nerchio swap and Aspire behind this, and I think this is kind of a cute move. Zerglings and Mutalisks, this is kind of like, hey, what am I fighting, Terran? But really, Mutalisks are very good versus Protoss. There's so little in the air. Like, he knows his opponent opened Phoenixes, but if he can guesstimate that his opponent didn't go double Stargate, you can flood Mutalisks and actually beat out Phoenixes most of the time. And Mutalisk Corruptor is so darn good against most of what Protoss have. It's hard without the Onion Pulse Crystal upgrade to really deal with that.
Yeah, it's definitely true. It's not necessarily a hard counter that ShoWtime got those Phoenixes. Mutas, especially in the numbers that Nerchio is looking for, which is going to be about 14, like immediately.
ShoWtime
it's
just
going to
be Aspire too, so it may change his mind with this. And yeah,
we should start. Start Phoenix
again.
production again.
Alright, well, he's going to lose a couple more drones here. He's got 2 spores at each base. Sadly, the third base ones are neither in position to hit any of these Phoenixes.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's using quite a number of drones. He's up to about 13 killed right now. Lings, again, from Nerchio are going to go off the left side. They're going to try and, see what they can do on the third base, but now it's pretty protected. I mean, there's 2 gateways, helping out with that SimCity as well as 2 cannons. Yeah, exactly. So, looks like Nerchio is going to go for Corruptors. I don't know what they're really going to do. They're taking the Mothership Core, and they're going to use Corruption, and of course they're going to take out the Phoenix, I guess, too, but the Phoenix can, of course, dodge them, and otherwise they're not going to be too useful. There's no Colossus out, right?
ShoWtime, ShoWtime's going to be dedicated to the air, too. He's got a second Stargate. He's got air weapons started. After seeing that Spire, I don't know, Nerchio's been dedicated to the melee weapons underneath this, though, so I think he's going to, like, I really think Nerchio's going to try and force ShoWtime to go really heavy with the air, and then just flood Ling and Fester for the late game. That's my guesstimation, because I just...
Oh, no, he's getting Mutalisk.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Mutant Corruptor.
Completely wrong.
Well, maybe we'll see. Because again, this could just be an over-dedication to force a lot more air out of his opponent. Lings en masse. There's just, if you've got 80 of your supply wrapped up in Phoenixes and Void Rays, you're not going to take care of the Lings very easily.
I guess that's true. It's just that he's also getting +1 Carapace, so it's seemingly he's really going to invest a lot into this, because it's not like his opponent's going for that heavy air style that you see a lot of times, like an Akalon, right? That's when you would want to invest in the Corruptors and that air army and really do that tech switch to take care of, Void Rays, because Void Rays are terrible to deal with. But, I still like what you're saying about like the switch to Infestor, and it could definitely still work, but he's going to try and do something with these Mutalisks.
Zombie Grub, this is kind of a key point. We got a lot of Phoenixes on the field, but there's no Fleet Beacon, no Anion Pulse Crystals. If he's going to dedicate to the air, you can't do it without that upgrade. It is so critical to the Phoenixes. You actually can't take care of Corruptors without it.
Yeah, so the Corruptors are being the protectors of the Mutalisks. The Mutalisks still are not able to do that much. When you're being protected by the Corruptors, you do not have the mobility that you usually have, so it does take a little bit away from this style, but Nerchio behind it's doing everything perfectly. I mean, he double expanded, and he's running up really, really hard, so he's going to have a powerful late game.
Yeah, we got the Templar Archives out. I was kind of expecting to see Storm start up right away, but looks like he's just going to keep investing in defenses for now. I mean, these Corruptors got to be careful. They don't take much for the Phoenixes, but the Stalkers are wrecking their day. 5 of them almost go down there. Oh my god, that was kind of brutal.
I would say a little bit sloppy from Nerchio. I guess maybe he didn't get Blink or something, I'm not sure, but that did go not in favor of Nerchio. He's still investing into Mutalisk, not switching over to Infestors, not even any Pathogen Glands on the way, and the Hive has still not been started, I believe, so he's really staying on these Mutalisk.
Yeah, he invested so much into those melee upgrades. He got +2 really quick. I don't know if he's just saving that for a quick remix and hoping that'll win him the game, but here comes that Fleet Beacon, and this is the clock that ShoWtime's on. Or not ShoWtime, rather, Nerchio's army's on, because right now he can actually contend with the Phoenixes and take minimal losses. But once he's got those Anion Pulse Crystals, wow, why can't I talk today? That range upgrade of the Phoenixes is just almost impossible to deal with.
ShoWtime splitting up his army very, very decently. He's taking out most of the Corruptors, so the Phoenixes will have a field day with the Mutalisks if controlled correctly. Meanwhile, the rest of his army is taking out that 5th of Nerchio. Does have another one.
But Ling's also run into the
but...
natural, so this is quite nasty. Even if he cleans up the Mutalisks, he doesn't have a great answer to these Lings. There's a couple Stalkers here, but a couple Stalkers versus this many Lings? I don't know. Meanwhile, that 5th base does go down, and a big recall comes home to defend.
Perfect. Always taking the Mothership Core with you to have that recall handy means that he will not be losing too much. He did lose a Forge, so that kind of sucks. You won't base. That.
These two cannons will not stand for long. There's a lot of Mutalisks and a lot of Lings still flooding in here.
Well, the Phoenixes will take care of the Mutalisks. There's only one Corruptor to protect them, so that's going to be taken care of easily with some good micro, and the Zealots are definitely plentiful enough, and Nerchio does have to retreat, so, all in all, he didn't do too much. He definitely culled the Stalker count, so, but then there's so many Phoenixes that it doesn't really matter about that.
Well, what's really cool too, let's not forget, a lot of people don't know this, the Guardian Shield from the Sentries does affect air units, guys. So if these Phoenixes fight on top of this army, not only do they have the support of the Stalkers and the Sentries for damage, they'll have that huge damage reduction. And Glaive Bounces don't do a lot as is.
Yeah. So he did actually take care of 34 probes. So that's a lot. That means the third base is hardly even saturated. It's not even a third base right now. It's actually just packed with 2 bases.
Here we go, round 2 coming in. Mutalisk just going straight for that cannon. Not a lot to defend. Stalkers here on the ground. Can't just fly out though. Gonna lose these last couple Corruptors by the looks of it, yeah.
Please be careful just a bit. Nerchio having some, really making up for that initial mistake by having some very great micro now.
Zergling slaughter on the ramp.
Yeah, not doing too much right there. He's finally getting those Anion Pulse Crystals, by the way, so his Phoenixes are going to be so much more effective.
Yeah, for those who don't know, this gives the Phoenixes an additional 2 range. So right now they already outrange the Mutalisks, but they do not outrange the Corruptors. When this is done, they'll outrange the Corruptors by 1. And Phoenixes, since they attack while moving, this is the one unit in the game that truly kites its opponents around.
Have these Submarine Core powered up if he wants to get upgrades for them, because he is investing heavily into Phoenixes. I wouldn't be surprised. It's not going to happen anytime soon. Mutas once again going into this third. They shouldn't be doing too much though. The Phoenixes are already in position.
Well, gonna zone out for the time being. Meanwhile, this fourth base, well, was fifth, now fourth base, getting focused down here by these Zealots. I don't think he can save this. This is a lot of damage, plus 2 Zealots with those really ugly green upgrades. So I don't know, some people like them, I don't. The new upgrade icons. Base
Yeah,
this
I
fall,
actually
though.
think they're ugly. I agree. But does take out that fourth. That's actually a pretty big deal. As you can see, Nerchio's back on 3 base, and Battleship and Siege, it's so hard to keep those outer bases. So losing them, it's just even harder to actually get them back up.
Well, this army for ShoWtime is being really well handled. I mean, still splitting up those Phoenixes, splitting up the main army. Canceling yet another base from Nerchio, and he's got to know, hey, oh, that Mothership Core with a big recall gets everything out alive. Jesus. ShoWtime with such amazing control here.
Yeah, you know, a lot of times Protosses forget to take care of the Mothership Core in the later stages of the game. They either lose it and never rebuild it, or they just leave it at home for the counterattacks. But always taking it with them has really allowed him to push forward against Nerchio's, you know, very mobile style. He's actually taken out the bases, which can be very, very difficult if you're going up against Needless. So
look at this big swarm of units though, man. Yeah, he's got to make or break this. The ground units are already taken care of. Not too many Lings left. The Phoenixes are trying to kite around. There's so many Needless in the air, but they are clumping around this Archon. These 2 Archons are doing so much splash damage right now. We see units dipping into the red. 3 Needless pop. Most of the ground army has been taken care of. 2 Phoenixes left in the air. The Corruptors should be able to finish these off. And what is left to defend? Nerchio may have done this. Only a few Stalkers. Yeah,
oh my
Mothership Core
God.
goes down as well. More Stalkers warping in, continuing with the Phoenix production, but 8 more Mutalisks are coming to reinforce this. I thought Nerchio was going to lose this for that final engagement, but these 3 Immortals, as cool as they are, they can't shoot up.
Oh yeah, they're just hanging around looking at their Protoss brethren die a terrible death.
This is actually kind of
Phase
people. Like, these Corruptors are so low. If these Corruptors were not here, the Phoenix would clean up these Mutalisks without any issue whatsoever. He's got to break these Phoenixes. This buffer. Oh, but GG is called.
Ooh, it was looking decent for ShoWtime there. I mean, he was keeping care of most of his army with those recalls, but just did not have quite enough anti-air. I feel he was just getting to that point where he would have been indestructible, you know, getting all those Archons, but he only had 2, so